Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back to our brand new, but not really new, monthly live stream format. We are going to let people gather here. It's been a little while. Already got, looks like, over 50 people watching. That is amazing. Let me finish getting myself set up. It's been a little while since we've been streaming. Thank you all so much for joining us yet again. While we are gathering everyone, I will finish introducing myself. My name is Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Specialist at Union Station, and I'm excited to have you all joining me on this Monday night. And thank you so much for watching tonight. Also, thank you to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for these supporting these live streams and many other programs at Union Station. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to our new monthly live stream format. We are going to be doing these monthly now, doing a little bit of a deep dive into astronomy news topics that have popped up over the past month, as well as a little star tour. So we're going to take a tour of our night sky, see what's up this May in our spring skies. As always, for these live streams, they are live. I am watching your comments, so if you have any questions or comments, be sure to put those in the comment section, and I will try to follow along, and we're going to try to make this interactive, Q&A, so if you have any questions about anything at all, please put those in the comment section. For those of you who don't know, we are returning to live streams, and this is actually our 70th live stream ever. We did 69 live streams over the past year. We're doing them on a weekly format, but as things have been opening up this spring, we've transitioned to a monthly format. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're so glad to have you here with us. And don't worry, because we have recordings of all of our past live streams on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out any of our past live streams where we've done deep dives into dozens of astronomy and space science topics, check those out at youtube.com/KC Planetarium. A lot of good stuff there. So checking into the comment section, besides the robot that seems to be in the comment section with us, please don't click any of those links. I doubt those are very friendly or helpful links. We do have some other real humans checking into the comments. We've got Trace, I think one of our longtime watchers, tuning in, saying hello from Warrensburg. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Julie says hey from St. Joe. Thanks for watching, Julie. And Rain says hi as well. Rachel says, going up in the world if you've attracted your very own spam bots. Right. Yeah, that's the spirit, Rachel. That is the perspective to have. Ignore those spam bots, please. And we will try to follow along. Let me make sure that I am watching along in all of our comment sections. If you are watching on unionstation.org, that is so awesome. Don't forget, though, that we are also streaming live on the Planetarium's Facebook page. And if you haven't yet, go to facebook.com/KC Planetarium, and you will find all sorts of cool space-specific updates from the Planetarium there. So be sure to give us a like and subscribe as well. We've got Lauren tuning in, who is reminding me that my grandmother is watching from Richmond, Virginia. Hello, Granny. Thanks for watching tonight. And Tasha, another one of our returning watchers, says, good evening. Good evening, Tasha. Great to see you as well. We've got a lot of people jumping into the comments. Please keep those comments coming, and I will try to follow along as best I can. Catherine says, howdy from Oklahoma. Thanks for watching, Catherine. People are sending stars, and I'll be honest, I don't really know what those do. So thank you for whatever that is. I hope that's a helpful type of thing. And we have been so helpfully in the comments trying to moderate this robot who's trying to take over. Who would have thought that the robot uprising would start in such a boring way, tuning into our Monday night live streams. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let's jump in here and keep things rolling along. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to put those in the comment section, and I will try to check those out. But we're going to start out by checking out some space and astronomy news that has popped up over the past month. And our first news story is a bit of an anniversary. We celebrated the 60th anniversary of Yuri Gagarin's famous flight into space, the first time a human went into space. It's been 60 years. Can you believe it? That was crazy. That was on April 12th. It's pretty amazing that in 60 years we have sent people to the moon, and we've sent spacecraft and rovers to other planets. And as we'll talk about later, we have aircraft flying on other planets now too, which is very mind-blowing. So pretty cool milestone there. 60 years since that famous flight. Another big news item that popped up, it was the Crew 2 mission. And I just realized I don't have a visual aid for that, so let's pull up some imagery for that. So we've been following along with SpaceX's, here we go, with SpaceX's commercial crew ventures. So if you've missed out, last summer we were following along the story that for the first time in almost a decade, Americans were sending astronauts aboard American spacecraft, as we've been hitching rides with the Russians for a while. But NASA has contracted with private space companies like SpaceX to send our astronauts to space. So the first demo that took American astronauts to space was at the end of May last year. We did a live stream on that on June 1st, so check out that live stream if you want to follow along with that. But since then, the Crew 1 mission, the first official crew, was on November 16th, and now Crew 2 lifted off just a week ago on April 24th. They used the same capsule as the Demo 2 mission, and those astronauts are still aboard the International Space Station. That mission is ongoing. So we are fully into our commercial crew deployment. So NASA doesn't have to worry about sending our own astronauts to space, and they can worry about doing cool things like sending space probes into deep space. That's kind of the idea with the commercial crew program. Speaking of SpaceX, recently they announced the first ever all-civilian crew headed to space. This mission is scheduled for September 15th of this year, and it's going to be pretty historic. So there are 4 civilians, non-astronauts or government people, who are going to space aboard the mostly automated SpaceX Dragon 2 capsule. This includes 1 billionaire entrepreneur who's funding this whole thing, 1 college professor, 1 physician assistant and bone cancer survivor, and 1 data engineer and Air Force vet. So those 4 are going into space, all civilians, for the first time ever, and that should be pretty exciting. The mission's called Inspiration 4. So let me check in and see if we've got anything else going on. Let's see, Mark is asking what happened to the Chinese craft. And Mark, I'm not sure specifically what you are talking about. There have been a couple news stories over the past month, various spacecraft. If you're asking specifically about the debris, though, there was a bit of a story that popped up that basically there is a Chinese spacecraft, or space station really, that's falling back to Earth, and some of the debris may reach the surface of the Earth. And the controversy is that they're planning an uncontrolled re-entry back to Earth. Here, let's bring this news story here. This is actually a story I haven't followed along recently, but this, let's see, it's the Long March 2B or 5B rocket is falling back to Earth. Let's see, it hopefully is going to be landing on an uninhabited area, but 70% of the Earth is covered in ocean, so looks like 1 in several trillion is a chance that the space debris would impact any individuals. So, Mark, hopefully I answered your question. I think we should be safe from that Chinese spacecraft. Trace says, welcome back, Patrick. Welcome back for you watching. Thank you so much for joining us. Trace says, we need some planetarium shirts. I'll pass that along to our marketing department. Definitely something that I'm sure we could provide if there is enough interest. Patience, another one of our longtime watchers, says, I've seen that article. Isn't there a weight limit to the pod for space travel? Patience, if you're talking about the commercial crew, I'm not sure about that. There are some limits based on the space suits, I know, just because they tend to reuse these things. Although the new SpaceX actually designed new spacesuits that may be designed bespoke for people. I know that was a limitation for NASA astronauts and for spacewalks, because they have a limited number of spacesuits aboard the International Space Station, and there's actually a height limit, so if you're too tall, you don't fit in a spacesuit. So I'm not aware of a weight limit, but there may be other size restrictions. All right, let me check over into the Planetarium comments. All right, looks like most people are commenting on the Union Station page. Cool. Any more questions and comments? Keep those coming, folks. We're going to move along to another news story. Speaking of commercial crew, Blue Origin, which is a company run by the Amazon executive Jeff Bezos, who is kind of in competition with SpaceX. They are part of the commercial crew program as well. And they recently launched their New Shepard rocket. And this was one they've been testing for a few years, but it went to space and had a soft reentry. So a New Shepard is this little one right here. You can see the size comparison with the Falcon 9. They're also developing this New Glenn rocket, which is kind of comparable to SpaceX's Starship rocket, which we've followed along before. Sorry, you can't see it. So still working on that. All right, so this is the New Shepard. This was the rocket that they launched and did a soft touchdown. And let me see if I can get that video up for you all. All right, here we go. Okay, so this, there it is. So it's a similar design to SpaceX's Falcon 9. Its reentry is a little bit more wonky. You can see it kind of wobbling around there, but it did have a soft touchdown. They've touched it down softly before, but this is notable because this is the first time their rocket went to space and then touched down safely. So competition's always good, even though SpaceX is kind of owning the commercial crew biz right now. Competition's always good because that breeds innovation and also lowers prices. So that's always a good thing. So that is a notable news story. Speaking of Blue Origin, they landed a contract with the Pentagon to develop a nuclear-powered spacecraft. There's Jeff Bezos himself, definitely not looking at all like Lex Luthor. But they have been awarded a $2.5 million contract by NASA to develop nuclear-powered spacecraft. Now, we've talked about nuclear-powered spacecraft a few times before. We did a live stream all about space technology in the past and future. That was recently on March 15th. We did a live stream about retrofuturism, so past spaceship designs. That was on February 1st. And then we also did a live stream all about rocketry on December 14th of last year. But we've talked about this. So the idea is that nuclear energy is fairly efficient and fairly safe at this point. And so we want to develop potentially a space technology that could use nuclear power, since that could be a really efficient way of space travel. So looks like Blue Origin is going to be working on that project. And you can check out those live streams if you want to learn more about that possibility. Let's see. So it was announced the White House plans on a 6.3% increase to NASA's budget in 2022. Now, these things will go through a lot of red tape, and Congress usually changes this, but that budget proposal is pretty good, and that's after a few years, actually, of NASA's budget increasing. So more money for NASA is always good. Now, I wanted to kind of bring this up because we did a live stream on Thanksgiving last year. That was on November 23rd, where I talked about I talked a lot about how space exploration helps and benefits us here on Earth, but I also talked about misconceptions about the amount of money we spend on space exploration. So there's some quick charts here. You can see that the percent of the national budget that NASA has had used to be very high during the space race. It was all the way above 4%, but in recent decades, it's been less than 0.5%. And a lot of people misjudge NASA's budget. In fact, there have been studies done where people estimate the amount of budget NASA gets, and it is way, way higher. So people think that the NASA's budget is 6% of the United States' entire budget, when really it's less than 0.5%. So if you hear that NASA is getting more of a budget, don't worry. NASA does not get a lot of money compared to other things like defense spending and stuff like that. We won't get political, but just know that NASA's budget is very tiny. So any percent increase there is a good thing, I think. Hopefully we would agree. And if you want to learn more about why spending money on NASA and space exploration benefits us here on Earth, then definitely check out that live stream again on November 23rd of last year. All right. Continuing onwards. 6:15. There's one or a couple more news stories I want to touch on. NASA is planning an interstellar mission that could go 1,000 astronomical units away from the sun. One astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the sun. And to put into perspective just how far 1,000 would be, the Voyager space probes, which we launched about 50 years ago, are the furthest man-made objects from the Earth, and they are 152 astronomical units away right now, and it's taken them almost 50 years to travel that far. So planning a mission to go that far away from the sun into deep interstellar space is very significant. We would need a spacecraft that goes very, very quickly. So interesting that NASA's thinking about that, exploring beyond the bounds of our solar system. And the last news story is kind of going to be our mini deep dive for this month's stream, because really the most notable thing that's been happening over the past month has been NASA launching and testing their Mars helicopter, the Ingenuity helicopter. So this tiny little rover, or aircraft, you could say, was brought along with Perseverance. Perseverance, by the way, landed on February 18th of this year. We did a whole live stream all about Perseverance, of course, back in February, so check that out. But Perseverance's mission actually hasn't really started yet, because so far it's been monitoring Ingenuity's mission here. And Ingenuity is a tiny little helicopter that is planned to do 5 flights, and it's already done 4 of them, actually, so its mission is just about done. Its official mission. Now, these things can always be extended, and they often are for a successful mission like Ingenuity. But this is pretty awesome. I want to show you... that's not the one. I want to show you a video of Ingenuity's first flight. This is... Now, again, keep in mind, this is an aircraft we've sent to another planet. So this was the first flight, and it's flown further since then. But just keep that in mind if you are feeling underwhelmed by this, because again, this is a helicopter flying on another planet. So this is video from the Perseverance rover of Ingenuity taking off. And again, this is the first flight. They only went up, I think, about 10 feet, and they rotated 90 degrees and then came back down. And then since then, it's been traveling a lot further and taking photos as it's been moving. But there you go. The helicopter's flying, rotating a little bit, and then softly coming back down. Now, this is notable for a lot of reasons. Of course, it's difficult just to get to Mars, but sending an aircraft there and flying it safely and controlled, mind you, that is quite a feat. Also, the atmosphere on Mars is 1% the thickness of Earth's atmosphere, which means these rotor blades have to be traveling extremely fast, over 7,000 RPMs, and they have to be extremely efficient and extremely fast and extremely lightweight for this to work. So they've been developing this helicopter for a long time. In fact, there's a really great video that I'm not going to play all the way, but I will just show you. Veritasium is a great science communicator, and a few years ago, back in August 2019, he took a tour of the Ingenuity test facility where they were building it. Here's the project manager, who has since appeared on a few videos showcasing the project. So this is a really great video. We can post a link to it. But they talk about the mechanical design of the helicopter, and there is the mock-up showing the actual size. It's solar powered, and they've been tested. They tested it in a vacuum chamber where they simulated the air density on Mars, and they also tested it with tethers to simulate the lower gravity on Mars as well. Now, one interesting thing about this, it is a helicopter. They thought about sending a drone to Mars with 4 rotors, but that would be very heavy and more prone to error. So what they chose to do is they chose to do this double rotor design. Now, the reason there are 2 helicopter blades is because of a helicopter blade torque. So what happens, and let me see if I can show you a picture of this. Helicopters, when their blades spin quickly, it produces torque. And this is due to Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So basically, as the rotors on a helicopter spin, it causes a helicopter to want to rotate the other way. That's called torque. And that's why helicopters have a tail rotor to prevent that torque from spinning the helicopter out of control. But another way to do that without that tail rotor is to have 2 blades, and these blades rotate in opposite directions, so the torque cancels out. So the helicopter can go straight up, and then they rotate the angle of the blades to have it move laterally. So a pretty ingenious design there. And then they have a solar panel on top. Actually, the majority of the electricity that Ingenuity stores is to keep its electronics warm. So inside this little box here are all of its electronics, and it has to keep them warm in the very cold Martian night, or else they could be damaged. This is the Mars NASA Mars website, which has a lot of really cool information about the helicopter, videos, deep dives into all the different components, how they all work, and there is also, I wanted to show you all a really cool, oh, of course I've lost it, where'd it go? There is, oh, here we go. So this is an interactive game you guys can play, or you can play with your kids at home. It's a, well, it's not really a game, I guess, but it's an interactive tutorial to learn how to code a Martian helicopter. So it's not loading here, but this is a fun activity if you want to get into coding and computer science, how that relates to exploring Mars. So very cool to check out. Okay, there we go. Now it opens up. You can use free software called Scratch. Yeah, it's a fun little program you can try at home if you've got someone at home who is interested in coding. So definitely check that out. And again, we can post a link to the Mars website. So again, Ingenuity has done 4 of its 5 planned flights, but I'm guessing that they will extend this mission a little bit. There is a limitation, though. The solar panel is already a little dusty, which prevents its ability to capture and store sunlight and energy. So eventually the mission will probably end, and Perseverance's main mission has to start soon, too. So far, its mission's been on hold for Ingenuity. But pretty cool. Pretty cool to follow along with this. Again, there are way more videos online you can check out. Just go to NASA's YouTube channel, and they have a lot of cool content there. Rachel says, I'm proud of myself for remembering what an astronomical unit was. Good job, Rachel. So glad to hear that. Rachel says, what kind of challenges do engineers face designing aircraft for Mars? And that's a great question, Rachel. So as I talked about before, a little bit, the atmosphere on Mars is way, way thinner than Earth. So again, 1%. And the thinner the atmosphere, the more speed you need to generate thrust. And so you're trying to lift this object off the ground, and you need a force pushing it off the ground. And with so little air, it's hard to move that air to create that force. So that's one challenge for sure. And again, the very cold Martian nights are a big challenge because the electronics can actually fail if the temperatures get too cold. So like I said before, I think 3/4 of Ingenuity's batteries are used to keep its electronics warm. So it actually is limited in its flight capacity because of that. Transporting the aircraft to Mars is a big challenge. They had to actually attach it to the bottom of the Perseverance rover and have it very carefully and slowly deploy. And it had to be covered with a dust shield during the Perseverance's landing, which we covered on one of our other streams as well. So a lot of challenges for sure. And then one of the biggest challenges is that Mars is far away. It's anywhere from 15 to 20 light minutes away, which means that if we send a radio signal, a set of instructions to Ingenuity, it'll take 15 minutes to get there at least, and then it'll take 15 minutes for the information it gathers to get back to us. So we can't really pilot it with a remote control in real time. We have to send it instructions and hope that it can make its own decisions based on instrumentation it has. And hope it survives. And we kind of find out 15 minutes later, which is a crazy thing. Okay, great. We posted the link there for Mars. All right, everybody, thank you so much for continuing to watch. And we are going to round out this stream by doing a little What's Up Star Tour. So we're going to head back over to Stellarium, which is our venerable virtual planetarium software. This is free. You can download it at home. And we're going to be just doing a short, like 15 to 20 minute star tour during these live streams, where we are going to be talking about what's going to be up over the next month. So we have our Kansas City skyline there with the planetarium poking out just above the tree line here. One of the few photos of Union Station where the planetarium isn't cropped out. I swear, every time a beautiful glamour shot of Union Station gets taken, they always cut out the planetarium. So sad. I guess that weird metal obelisk pyramid thing doesn't always look as classy as the rest of Union Station, which Union Station is a classy lady, for sure. So our sun here is in its accurate current position over there in the western horizon. I do actually want to rewind a smidge and make a note of something. So we're going to rewind here to around noon, where we can see the sun shining brightly up in the southern horizon. And it's fairly high right now in the southern horizon. And the height of the sun at noon is going to change depending on the seasons. This is one way to visualize the changing of the seasons. It's cold in the winter because the northern hemisphere of the Earth is sort of leaning away from the sun. And we see that from Earth as the sun being low on the horizon. So in the winter, you'll notice how the sun never gets very high in the sky. It always stays fairly low, even at noon. Well, as summer approaches, the sun will become higher in the sky, and on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun will be at its highest point. We actually did a whole live stream all about seasons back on September 21st of last year, so I'd encourage you to check that out if you want to learn more about that specific topic. But let's fast forward here because we want the sun to set. Although the sun is a star, it's our daytime star, and it is so bright it drowns out all of the starlight that we want to see for our star tour. So we're going to fast forward here to sunset. The sunset is getting pretty late this season. It'll be around 9-ish o'clock. Now bear in mind that if you ever look up the time of the sunset, you'll notice that it's not actually dark when your websites will claim that the sun has set. So I wanted to show you this I brought this visual up before, but there are different types of twilight based on the angle of the sun. So when the sun hits the horizon, that's technically sunset, but there's still plenty of twilight. We call that civil twilight. When the sun is below 6 degrees below the horizon, we have nautical twilight, which I guess has to do with celestial navigation. But then below 12%, or 12 degrees rather, is what we call astronomical twilight, where the stars start to come out. And then below 18 degrees, sorry, is true nighttime. So it's always about 30 minutes to an hour after sunset that the stars really pop out. So we are going to fast forward time here to about 9:30 actually, as we are quickly approaching the summer solstice. That's going to be at the end of June. It's weird how the longest day of the year is actually the start of summer. So throughout summer, days get shorter, which is kind of weird to think about, but that's just how it works. And so here is our spring night sky. So since it's been a while since we've done a star tour, we're going to start pretty basic and go over a couple patterns that I usually start my star tours with. And we can talk about the dippers here. We have the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. And these big spoons are part of two constellations called Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Oops. There we go. That's what I wanted. It's been a while. There we go. So these bear constellations, these will be visible every season, actually. They are what we call circumpolar, so they never rise or set. But they're familiar patterns here. Now the dippers are what we call asterisms, unofficial star patterns, and the official constellations are Ursa Major and Ursa Minor there. So we'll talk about a couple asterisms versus constellations. There are 88 constellations in our night sky, and we can see these constellations here in Stellarium. There they all are. We've talked about constellations during many past live streams, not just our star tours, but we've gone over. If you want to learn about the origin of many constellations, our Ancient Western Astronomy live stream from February 15th this year is definitely one I'd recommend checking out. So again, any pattern that's not one of those official 88 constellations, we call an asterism. So we're going to start out by looking over in the western sky, where you're going to find a bright point of light right here that you'll notice does not twinkle. So we can see the stars twinkling here in Stellarium, but this object does not twinkle. Stars twinkle because they're so far away from Earth that by the time their light finally reaches us, only a tiny amount of it is able to pass through the Earth's dense atmosphere, and our atmosphere causes that little speck of light to become distorted, making it appear to wobble and twinkle. But this is not a star. This is actually a planet. And this planet is the planet Mars. And you can tell it's a planet because it does not twinkle. Planets are much closer than distant stars, so more of their light is reflected back towards Earth, and they appear as wider disks of light, so they do not twinkle. In fact, we can zoom in all the way here to seeing Mars there. So there is Mars. Now, we're not going to spend much time on Mars because if you come to the planetarium and see our current seasonal star tour at the planetarium, we do take a deep dive into Mars. We actually fly to Mars in the planetarium. So be sure to check out the planetarium if you haven't yet. We are open 6 days a week right now, Tuesday through Sunday. So check us out, please. We've got a bunch of great shows available for you. Also, our laser shows are back, and our next laser shows are this Friday. So definitely check those out. Tickets are still available. Got a bunch of awesome options for lasers, including Queen and Rush. A lot of cool shows this weekend, so check that out. So around Mars, we have the constellation Gemini, the twins. It looks like 2 stick figures holding hands. So this is one stick figure's head. Here's his body. There's his arm and his legs. And here's the other head, his body, arms, and legs. So these twins were named Castor and Pollux. They were a famous pair of Greek heroes. Fun constellation to spot. It's fairly simple. Just look for those stick figures holding hands. And we're going to continue rotating around here. And I don't actually have to hide the Liberty Memorial here because the next constellation I'm going to show you is right above it. This is Leo the Lion. And remember, I talked about asterisms, unofficial star patterns. Well, this backwards question mark is an asterism you can spot, and it's part of Leo. So here's Leo's head and his mane, and there's his body, his front paws, and his tail. Leo represents the Nemean lion. This was the ferocious beast that Hercules fought and defeated during the first of his 12 labors. That is shining brightly up in our southern sky right now, and by looking for that asterism, you can easily spot Leo. By the way, we have the brightest star in Leo is Regulus. Regulus is the name of a character from the Harry Potter series. Now, we'll be looking at some other stars that have similar names. By the way, we did a whole live stream all about Harry Potter astronomy, and that was on June 3rd of last year. Again, go to youtube.com/KC Planetarium for all of our past live streams. Rachel's asking, or says, I feel like you've probably covered it before, but I don't remember. Why do Ursa Major and Ursa Minor have tails? Rachel, that's a great question. And I may have talked about it briefly, but it's worth bringing up again. So we can bring up the big and little bears there. And they do have long tails. And if you know anything about bears in real life, they do not have tails. We're not really sure exactly why this is. But Rachel, what's most likely is that this was a translation error. So there's actually evidence that similar constellations were seen back in the early days of civilization, back around the Fertile Crescent and ancient Mesopotamia. They may have saw these patterns as raccoons, and there could have been a translation error from cultures crossing over and meeting each other over thousands of years that just changed the raccoon into a bear. And so that might be why they have those long tails. But that's a great question, Rachel. Oh, Tasha says, my 3-year-old suddenly remembered you have a bird, and since the stream is almost over, we can see if Phoebe wants to make an appearance. Come here. She's been pretty well behaved so far during the stream. Here is Phoebe. Hi. You want to say hi to everybody? You can join us as we wrap up our star tour. So let's go over to our eastern sky. Ooh, right in my ear, thank you. In the east, we have Virgo the Maiden, and she looks like a big stick figure. So this is Virgo's head right here. Here are her arms, her torso, and her legs. And our star pattern here is kind of wonky, a little bit different, but yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't go with the stick figure pattern. One thing to note is that these star patterns are not, there's nothing official about them. That's why you might find different star patterns all over the internet if you search. So Virgo was a goddess of fertility or harvest. The Greeks called her Demeter, the Romans called her Ceres. In art, she's often depicted as carrying an ear of grain in one hand, and that star in her hand is named Spica, which means ear of grain in Latin. I mentioned Regulus. Well, there's another star named after a character from Harry Potter, or a Harry Potter character named after the star, I should say, Arcturus. Arcturus is the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere, and the brightest star that you'll see up at this point tonight. It's part of the constellation Boötus. I realize I didn't have the constellation names on there. Boötus is an ancient hunter constellation that was said to be chasing the Ursa bears. Arcturus means watcher of the bear in ancient Greek. Now, there are a lot of stars up there in the sky, so it might seem like a daunting task trying to remember any of them. But you can actually remember Arcturus and Spica by following the handle of the Big Dipper and tracing the arc of this handle across the sky. And you'll see it passes through Arcturus and Spica. And there's a nifty little saying that goes along with it. And it goes, arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica. Again, from the Big Dipper's handle, just arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica. You'll find and remember these two stars. Phoebe, do you wanna stop showing everybody your butt? Come here. She's chewing on the back of my shirt. Come here, bird. Hi. Ooh, I can show you a new trick that she can do. Look at this. Oh, no, she's not a fan of that. Well, almost. All right. Rachel says, I had no idea there were Mesopotamian raccoons. I'm going to get stuck in a weird Google loop over that, for sure. I might have to do some Googling myself. Tasha says, ooh, he got very excited seeing Phoebe. Thank you. No problem, Tasha. Now, by the way, the constellations Virgo, Leo, and Gemini belong to a famous group of constellations called the Zodiac. There are 12 constellations in this group. You can actually see them stretching across the southern sky every season, although you'll see different ones during different times of the year. There goes Phoebe up on my green screen. And now we're not going to go too in depth here because we do a deep dive into the Zodiac and why it's significant and how it works on our real star tour, or our planetarium star tour, I should say. So I'd recommend coming to the planetarium and checking that out for sure if you want to learn more about your Zodiac sign and how your Zodiac sign might not be what you thought it was. All right. So in terms of deep space objects, there's not a whole lot of exciting things around here, I will say. But maybe I'll cheat a little bit because my favorite deep space object is actually just sort of setting this season. And we can change our landscape to a flatter one where we'll see it. So Orion here, which is a winter constellation, is starting to set. So unfortunately, we are going to start missing it. But the Orion Nebula, which is in the dagger of the sword hilt here, is my favorite deep space object, and we're still visiting it during our star tour at the planetarium. This is a stellar nursery, a birthplace of stars, where new stars are being born. This gas and dust is the leftover remnants of a dead star, actually. When stars die, they expel their elements out into space, leaving behind these clouds of gas and dust called nebulas. Over millions of years, the gas and dust gets pulled together, forming large spheres of gas, kind of like the gas giant planets Jupiter and Saturn. But as these balls of gas grow in size, they get heavier and heavier, and as their gravity increases, they get hotter and hotter, until eventually they may reach a point where they reignite stellar fusion and they turn into stars. This is how all stars are born. It's how our sun was born. Sometimes those balls of gas don't get big enough and they stay as planets. That's actually what happened to Jupiter and Saturn. They were on their way to becoming stars, but they didn't get big enough. And there's also it's often the case that there's dusty, rocky material floating around that can coalesce to form what we call a terrestrial planet, or a solid planet like Earth. So all the stuff that makes up our solar system, our sun, the planets, and even you, all the elements in the human body, are actually traceable to stars that died billions of years ago and reformed new stars inside these nebulas. So I wanted to show you the Orion Nebula while it was still up a little bit. It's my favorite deep space object, but it is disappearing out of sight. There will be many more deep space objects to see. In fact, the last thing I'll show you is over in the east, because the summer triangle is starting to rise. The first star of the summer triangle is popping up right there. It's Vega, part of the constellation Lyra. And if you stay up late tonight, you can see the rest of the summer triangle. It connects Vega there with Deneb, the tail of Cygnus the swan, and Altair, the eye of Aquila the eagle. These three stars form the triangle that graces our summer skies. So as this triangle starts to rise earlier and earlier as nights go on, that will tell us summer is approaching. And then as soon as these three stars are up after sunset, then we can say that summer is here. And this was a tool that ancient people used to determine the changing seasons, this asterism made up of three stars from three separate constellations. And there is a deep space object inside the constellation Lyra, but we're going to save that for next month's stream. For now, though, we're going to transition back to our spacey view behind me. Let me make sure my bird isn't chewing on my walls. She's doing fine up there. And we're going to start wrapping up our stream for today. Pretty good timing here. She's chewing on my window blinds. It's fine. Danielle is giving me the emoji eyes. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it as a compliment. Shauna says, my son Samuel and I are watching from Spirit Lake, Iowa. Thanks so much, Shauna and Samuel, for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here with us. Tammy, one of our longtime watchers, tuning in again. Great to see you, Tammy. Tammy says, hello from Iowa. We have missed you, and I've missed you too, Tammy. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining. Well, everyone, this brings us to the conclusion of tonight's monthly stream. We're keeping it short and sweet, which I think is going to be good. We'll keep these formats moving quickly, but you can plan on seeing us back here next month, the first Monday in the month, June 7th. So be sure to check that out. I think we already have a Facebook event, so be sure to subscribe to that. And share it with all your friends so they can tune in June for our next live stream. We'll cover more astronomy news topics. And don't forget that laser shows are going on. I wanted to show you the laser show lineup here. There we go. So we have Bruno Mars, Daft Punk, Rush, a brand new laser show. We've got Laser Queen, Laser Zeppelin, that is a rockin' one. Tickets are still available, and we have increased our capacity at the planetarium. So if you thought we were sold out, we are no longer sold out. So be sure to check that out. If you want to check out our streams, Phoebe, get down from there. Hang on one second. My bird flew up onto my my fire suppression system. And that would be very bad if sprinklers went off in the middle of this live stream. All right, but hey, you can. This is proof that we're doing it live, of course. So check out our laser shows for sure. We have announced next month's round of laser shows as well. Just in time for my bird to take a lap around my apartment. So we have announced our June laser schedule, and June is going to be Laser Pride. So we have a awesome Laser Pride mixtape along with some other really awesome artists, Lady Gaga, Queen, David Bowie, and Prince, and Lizzo. And the Pride mixtape is going to have a lot of awesome artists. You can see here we've got Prince, Queen, Peter Gabriel, Elton John, Christina Aguilera, Madonna, David Bowie. Oh, so many amazing ones. So check that out. We're celebrating Pride Month in June. As you know, the Planetarium is always a supporter of being proud. So check those out. Tickets are available. And I hope to see you all back at the Planetarium. We are open to the public, and we are going to be moving into summer with a brand new schedule as well. That'll be starting Memorial Day. But come visit us and come see myself and our other amazing planetarium educators for our live star tours. We've got documentary features for adults and awesome kids shows as well. For now, though, we're going to wrap up tonight's stream. Great to see you all for this May stream, and we will be checking you out next month, and hope you check us out next month, I should say. Again, that will be Monday, June 7th. Rachel says, you would never live it down if Phoebe set up the sprinklers during your live stream. That would be very memorable. It would probably also destroy my computer, so we may not, in that case, we may not have another live stream, but we are planning on seeing you all back here next month for our next monthly stream. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you to everyone who commented and interacted and asked questions. Don't forget, youtube.com/KCPlanetarium has all of our past live streams, so check those out. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium's Facebook page as well. Thank you to all of our watchers for your support. Thank you to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these streams and other amazing programs going. I've been your Planetarium Specialist, Patrick Hess. That's my assistant, Phoebe, and I'm going to take this as a cue to round out our stream. See you next month, everybody. Bye-bye.